in Minecraft. Similarly to the game, this house will be full of beauty and danger. It'll feature dangerous bosses, haunting rooms, and even some heroic special characters. Like the main character, Hornet. I even built her needle weapon into the fountain. And you may or may not see a bunch of spoilers from the game. When you first walk in, you have your living room and your kitchen. On the right, we have more bedrooms. And on the left, we have stairs. Right up the stairs, we have a ton more rooms. But today, we're starting with the Moss Grotto living room. I won't even lie, I didn't play the first Hollow Knight, and I really didn't even know about the second one until I started seeing it everywhere. I checked it out, and now I actually love it. The main character, Hornet, is so cute. Plus, I think it's really fun that she uses a needle and thread as her weapon. Now, for a mossy grotto, we obviously have to add some moss. I think I'm gonna put my entertainment center right in the middle of this room, so I'll go ahead and build that out. Now, the mossy grotto is definitely giving overgrown, so I think these vines would work perfectly. And now a TV. I want to put a little entertainment center, but I definitely still want it to be giving that overgrown look, so I'll cover it with moss. And actually, I think I'm gonna go ahead and extend it out a little bit. That way I can add a PS5 and a Switch. That way you can play the game in real life. Now it's time to add the sofa, which I'm gonna cover in mossy cobblestone. That way it looks like it's been sitting there for a while. And somewhere where we can kick our feet up, a little ottoman. And just to really nail down that overgrown look, some moss carpet. And to break up some of this green, we'll do some cushions. In the Moss Grotto, there are a ton of different overgrown foliages. So I'm gonna attempt to make this really cool overgrown tree. And now cover it with some vines. Wait, I think hanging a lantern would be so cute right here. You also see a ton of bushes in the Moss Grotto, so I'll go ahead and add some here. And now we watch it grow. Ooh, I think it would be so cute to have one on each side of the door. I'll go ahead and build another one, cover it in some vines, put some little bushes all over it. Ta-da! Now we have two. This living room is definitely the hub for Silksong gaming. So we obviously are gonna need a couple streaming setups. I'll use frame trap doors with spruce logs for the desks, green and gray gaming chairs, and of course, monitors. We've covered PlayStation, we've covered computers. Now let's make an area where we can play on the Switch. I'm gonna make a super sick Switch gaming bar featuring a ton of switches and plenty of seating for ultimate Silksong gaming. I'm actually gonna go ahead and fill in this hole, and I'll show you why in a second. We're bringing out the big screen. I don't actually think Silksong is a split screen game, but we can pretend. From this angle, this room is giving so overgrown. But from this angle, not so much. I think I want to start by making a really cool lantern chandelier right here. Oh my gosh, I forgot my shaders make lanterns sway. That's so cute. I'll also go ahead and add some more vines everywhere. Maybe a couple of bushes. And some moss carpet. For an extra detail, in the game, there are these giant leaf thingies that look a lot like the Minecraft drip leaf. So I'm gonna use a few of those for some extra detail in our living room. I wanna make them big enough to where you can definitely still walk under them, but it still gives the grown-up look. And before you can move on to the next level, you have to defeat the Moss Mother. That's the first boss in the game. I definitely think we captured the Moss Grotto level really well. Let's see if we can do the same thing with the Marrow. The Marrow takes on a whole new vibe. While the Moss Grotto was overgrown, mossy, and green, this location is very much giving lava, bones, really twisty, windy structures, and a huge, giant, scary brain-eating beast boss at the end. And I decided to do this room two-toned because turns out there's multiple bosses on this location. We'll start with my fave, the Bell Beast. The Bell Beast is actually so terrifying. This dude is so powerful, and apparently you can die to him super easy. But when you finally do beat this boss, he's supposed to become your friend and you can ride him. My friend Kipper actually made the Bell Beast custom mod in Minecraft and I got to ride him.
Oh my gosh, Maddie's riding him. It's just like that game. He's cute.
Into battle.
It was super cool. And in honor of that big scary guy, I'm gonna make a table right under the bell, where the Bell Beast loves to eat hornets for breakfast. I know, they're bees, but let's just pretend they're hornets, okay? And now right under the table, we'll do some carpet. In almost every location, there are super dangerous parkour jumps you need to make. Most of them look so scary and are super spiky. So I'm gonna incorporate that into my build. This is the perfect place for a kitchen. I'll put my countertops, my sink, my stove over here, then of course my vent fan. I actually love these stone cabinets here. And a gray towel. And for some extra detail, we'll put more dripstone. Now for this side, I'll put 3 little cabinet areas with countertops and cabinets to fill in some space. I'll also go ahead and add some more dripstone to represent all those danger spikes in the Marrow. And I'll go ahead and add some carpet. However, on this side, I want to add 1 more of those little parkour jumps with some more danger spikes. Now, when you first encounter the Bell Beast, he's all cozied up in his cave. So over here in this corner, I'm gonna build that out. I know I'm using spider webs, but his nest is actually made of silk. Silk plays a huge role in this game, hence the title, Silksong. We'll get to the song part later. And nestled comfortably in his cocoon, the Bell Beast himself. Believe it or not, I'm actually gonna start with the carpet first on this one. Now for every good kitchen, there's a dining room. So I'll go ahead and place the table, the chairs, and unfortunately, we had to invite the Skull Tyrant boss to eat with us. He's like that aggressive relative that's always yelling at the dinner table. Except this guy wants to bite your head off and kill you. Hopefully no one has relatives like that. Since he is the Skull Tyrant, we'll go ahead and decorate with a couple of skeleton heads. And to try to make it a little less intimidating, we'll add a couple plates. So all of these things that he's standing on are definitely bones, so I definitely want to incorporate some bones in this dining room by placing a couple of bones everywhere and a couple more skeleton heads, and then maybe some spikes in the corner. Guys, I totally forgot you could stack these! Look at how much cooler it looks. Okay, that is way more intimidating. Probably not more intimidating than the Marrow bosses, but definitely still scary. Now, I wish I could tell you we were going somewhere less scary, but we're not. Deep Docks is very much giving lava, metalcore, fiery death. I can't think of a better place for a bathroom. There's a super intense boss in this location, and I think it's so funny the idea of fighting that boss while on the potty. I would not recommend you do that. We'll go ahead and start with the vanity. And a couple of cabinets. Now, I want to add some magma wherever I can because there is a lot of lava in Deep Docks. In fact, I actually think it might be cool to do like some scattered magma all over the floor. Okay, that's definitely giving danger. Now I'll go ahead and make the showers. I want to make sure to make the bathtub super big because once you get done fighting this boss, you are going to be so tired. And what better way to relax than a hot lava bath? Oh, that's funny. You thought you were going to get water in Deep Docks? No way. It's kind of like the Nether. The only thing you're getting here is pain and lava. And for fun, I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 more over here, except this one I'm gonna make a waterfall. Now, since this is a bathroom, I'm gonna have to add a potty. I'll go ahead and put some carpet down, and then some hand towels. For the potty, we'll put some toilet paper down, except the toilet paper's on fire. So, you do that math. I wanna add some frame trap doors here to act as shelves. That way we can put a bunch of towels down. Now, up here in the corners, we definitely have to do something with the magma. Maybe like fill the corners in a little bit like this. Ooh, and then have this one coming all the way down to the floor. It's so spooky. This is definitely not a level I would want to play. Ah! Okay, that's it. I've definitely spent too much time in Deep Docks. And now, unfortunately, it's time for the boss. And the boss is Lace. I'd totally be lying to you if I said I understood all the lore behind this boss, but apparently they're really hardcore. And you have to fight it sitting on the potty. I don't make the rules. I mean, actually, I do make the rules. You know who else makes the rules? Chakra. I mean, well, technically she doesn't make rules, she makes maps, but you're supposed to follow maps, right? And our next map leads us to Far Fields. Far Fields is by far one of my favorite locations. It feels like we can finally breathe after fighting all those banana bosses. Psych! There's not only another boss in Far Fields, but this boss is an absolute maniac. I mean, the sheer size of it is crazy intimidating. This is the 4th course boss, and it's going in our bedroom. I can't think of somewhere I would rather sleep more than right beside that thing watching me. If you've ever said those words, then you're in luck, because that's exactly what this bedroom's gonna be. Once I make my mossy stone bed frame, then I'll go ahead and start to really capture the essence of Far Fields. Instead of doing a normal rug, I want to use some of this moss to kind of give it a little bit of an overgrown look. I also want to replace these blocks with moss so that I can put grass on them. Now, one thing about Far Fields is there's these little particle things everywhere, and I thought I'd recreate that with the spore blossoms. Yes, this is perfect. It's starting to really come together. In Far Fields, there are a ton of wine windy, curvy vines. So I'm gonna use a combination of warped roots and twisted vines to bring that same effect to my bedroom. Okay, I'm really loving how this is coming together. Right above the bed, I wanna put some trapdoors, where I'm gonna put 2 rosary beads and a couple of vines to give it that overgrown look. I'll go ahead and add some moss in these corners. And now I'm gonna place some mossy stone bricks to make a statue. There is a statue in this location, however, I don't have the exact same one, so this one will have to do. I think that looks great, although it could show a couple signs of aging. You know, because it's probably a really old statue. Now, this is a really important detail that I learned about Farfields. The floor is actually lava! I mean, not all the time, but there's definitely a place where the floor of lava starts to rise and you have to parkour your way out. So, in honor of the parkour, I'll go ahead and build a little parkour system. Hopefully that's not too hard. Ugh. Nailed it. And for a couple extra details, I'm gonna go ahead and put some rocks down. It's time to go far away from the fields and say hey to Grey. Well, Greymoor. Greymoor is just that. More gray. It's actually super relaxing because it's just a ton of shades of gray. Definitely giving monochromatic, but we love that here. Yes, there is still a boss here, but the good news is this one's a cutie pie boss. To start off Greymoor, I'm gonna build a really big gear right here. Greymoor is definitely giving like industrial vibes, factory, and somewhere that would definitely have giant gears laying around. And no, it's not actually gonna be very functional, but at least it'll look cool. Time to add some details. I'll add some ladders and a couple buttons. Some trapdoors. There's these really cool squiggly little lampposts everywhere, and obviously I can't make squiggles in Minecraft, but I definitely can make a lamppost. I'll do 2 right here, and then 1 more over here in this corner. I'll go ahead and put the bed right here in the center, and now I'll do my bed frame. And to stick with the gray on gray theme, we're gonna do a gray bedspread. Now, iron bars are definitely more on brand with Greymoor than window panes, so I'll go ahead and use those. Right beside our bed, we'll have some tables. And then as a rug, we'll have some gray carpet. And now a custom lamp. That is so Greymoor. Now I definitely need to busy these walls up a little bit, which I'll use some frame ladders to do. And also some framed levers. Now picture this. You're sleeping so comfortably in your Greymoor bed. You open your eyes because it's time to wake up. And this is what you see. This is the Moorwing boss. And he is kind of precious. But he'll still kill you. So be careful. Now right over here beside Mr. Moorwing, I'm gonna make a little bedroom hutch with some cool Greymoor light additions. And obviously a nice gray carpet. Now funny enough, if you look at Mr. Moorwing and all of his lackeys and squint your eyes really hard, they kind of look like bats. So I'm gonna decorate with a couple bats. I think I'll have them just kind of flying all over the place. Wait, this looks so cool. It's almost as if I'm about to fight them. But I couldn't do that, they're too cute. I do want this place to have a little bit of an overgrown look, you know, without betraying too much of the gray. Another really cool detail about Greymoor is there's giant chains hanging around everywhere. So of course I have to add that detail. Well, I don't think I could get any more gray. Wait, do you guys hear that? I think it's coming from upstairs. Bellhart, that's what I was hearing. Oh no! It's Lucinda and all of her friends! They've been trapped in silk, we have to get them down! Widow is the name of the evil boss that hung my friends from silk. She's a weaver and apparently pretty disfigured. She's also in a cult who worships some kind of grandma, so there's that too. When you beat her, not only do you release your friends, but you also get a sick new skill. So I guess it's pretty worth it. Since this is Bellhart, I want to start by making a really big bell tower. And I'll use 2 different types of deep slate brick to do it. We'll use some framed fences, framed stairs, and now some framed trapdoors. And now for the bells. Aside from all of the trapped NPCs dangling from silk, one of the most notable things about Bellhart is all of the bells on the ground. So I'll go ahead and add a ton to the floor. Now that the bells are down, let's go ahead and do our bed. Now, I don't exactly know how anyone can get sleep with this many bells around, but I guess we're gonna try. I also want to do something really creative for this headboard. I know they're cobwebs, but let's just pretend they're silk. And now I'll go ahead and also surround the bed with silk. That's where the widow sleeps. Now I'll go ahead and hang some bells around. And now right over here, I'm gonna do a really cool custom table and chairs. The bottom of the table's made with silk, the top with spruce log, and then the chairs are made with spruce log too. This is where the widow boss sits down with players and formally apologizes for kicking their butts. Not! You'll definitely get your butt kicked, and she will not apologize. Now, it actually takes some very specific maneuvering to even find Widow. You have to jump on like a ton of these little parkour things, and then you have to avoid falling on the spikes that are in the caves. It is absolutely treacherous, but you have to save your friends, so it's kind of worth it. And now for the evil boss herself. It's Widow! And the carcasses of the people she's killed. That's definitely not a boss I want to face twice. Oh my gosh, what a trip! I want to say at least we're going somewhere nicer, but once again, we aren't. In this game, basically everything is trying to kill you. The environment, the bosses, the bugs, yourself sometimes. But hey, on the bright side, at least the songs are pretty to listen to as you die. Hunter's March is just as chaotic of a location. I actually found this photo online that pretty much sums it up for this level. One of the biggest distinctions of Hunter's March is the red little crystal vines all over the floor. So I'm gonna go ahead and add those in here. I'm also gonna go ahead and add some crimson roots everywhere to tie in more of that red color. Now, you have to be sure not to step on any of these or I'm pretty sure you die. But the same rules don't apply here because I would already be dead by now. Another distinction of Hunter's March is the green vine things that grow from the ground with their little red noggins. I want to recreate that by using twisted vines from the nether and little framed mod cubes. After placing them all down, now I'm turning them red to really match the game. All right, things are starting to get really immersive in here. There are definitely some bushes in the back of this location, so I really want to incorporate those. So I'll go ahead and add some bushes everywhere. Now it's finally time for the bed. It is kind of busy in here, but I definitely still do need to do a bed frame. And I'm gonna turn it moss green. The ripples in this bed frame really remind me of the vines on this level. Ah, I love how overgrown it looks. And now for a couple more details, I'll add some vines everywhere. And during the actual boss fight, it looks like there's a bunch of torches around. So I definitely don't want to miss that detail. And speaking of the boss, here we have the Savage Beastfly boss. Honestly, I'm so conflicted because it's giving really cute, but also I know it could rip my head off with those tiny little legs. You definitely want to keep your guard up with that one. And unfortunately, your guard probably needs to stay up because we're going to Shellwood. Shellwood is actually a spooky ooky swamp level. It features little islands with a lot of little buggy guys. This is by far one of my favorite locations because the art is just so beautiful and it's a water-based location. There aren't many of those in Silksong. And once again, let's put a bathroom in a really inconvenient room. In Shellwood, there's a ton of different parkour jumps, kind of like most of the levels. But for this level, I'm gonna make sure to incorporate that into the room. And then right over here, I'm gonna make a little platform. And that's where the potty will be. And some extra toilet paper. This platform kind of reminds me of the one that little bug guy stands on. And right over here, I'll do something similar for the vanity. By building a platform, turning it stone, and then making my vanity. Obviously, we need some towels and a sink. Right above it, we can add more space for towels. And then maybe a carpet. I'll also go ahead and add a carpet by the toilet too. I love how it's all just hanging over the water. That's so cool. This is probably as good a place as any for a shower. Get it? Because you're already in the water. Not much privacy there, I guess. I'll go ahead and add an area for a couple more towels. And now let's make this place be giving overgrown. Shellwood has a ton of cattails, but since we don't have those in Minecraft, I'm gonna use these drip leaves. I also think these hanging roots will give it a super swampy vibe, especially if I put some in the windows. Oh, I forgot you can't hang them from trapdoors. A couple more on the ceiling. And now to make it look super overgrown, some vines. These vines have come in major handy for this house. I am absolutely obsessed with the overgrown vibe for all the rooms. My decorating is usually super orderly, so this is actually a fun twist. Let me know in the comments which build style you prefer. Shellwood is looking so good and so full of life. Unlike our next location, Bone Bottom. This is actually a super cool room because Bone Bottom is at the very bottom of the map. It's rumored that the bones you find down there are the giant bugs that were the OG rulers of Hollow Knight. It still totally weirds me out that they're all bugs. So I figured, how cool would it be for my entire room to be inside a giant bug ribcage? I love the way bone blocks sound when you place them. It's kind of like music. I love this little bug sitting by the fireplace, so I want to recreate that in the very center of this room. But I also wanted to take on more of like a hangout room feel, so I'm gonna put some couches down. And also some carpet. Ooh, and maybe I'll hang some lanterns. The smoke is kind of getting caught on the lantern, but that's okay. Keep in mind that these bones have been sitting here for a very long time. So I'm gonna go ahead and make it look a little overgrown with these moss blocks. And now I'm gonna add some grass. And now a couple of these bushes. Oh wait, I need to make sure they never run out of firewood. So I'll put a couple of pieces beside the couch. Now, picture this. You're hanging out by the fire with all your best friends, and they start telling scary stories. Except these scary stories are real. In Bone Bottom, if you didn't defeat or fight the Skull Tyrant, you get another try. So if you're one of those unlucky few, good luck. As for the rest of us, we'll just be hanging out inside this ribcage. Definitely not hiking a mountain in the snow. Oh wait, that's exactly what we're doing. Mount Bay is one of the coolest locations. Literally. I wanted to not only match the blue hues of the map, but I also like this pattern because it reminds me of snow flurries. Now time for some blue windows and a cobblestone floor to pull it all together. I think I want to start by building a giant mountain in the middle of the room. Ta-da! Okay, I know it's kind of naked. Let's put some snow on top. I don't think there's any one specific mountain on the Mount Fay level, but I do think the entire thing is basically on a mountain. In the same breath, I don't think there's snowballs, but I feel like there should be. Now let's add a little bit more snow to the ground. Now it's time for our bed, which will turn blue. And then I have some really cool ideas for the bed frame. I'm gonna use ice blocks. Technically they are see-through, but I think they look so good. I'll go ahead and do a snow carpet underneath. And now for the dangerous parts. You knew it was coming. On the Mount Fay level, there are tons of these little sharp dagger boys that are trying to kill you if you land on them. So I only think it's fitting to include them here. Can you imagine if you're sleeping soundly in your bed and all of a sudden one of these things drops on your head? That would be very unfortunate. But not as unfortunate as running into the Pinstress boss. Yeah, she's dual wielding and will probably take you out. For an extra detail, there's these little chains with circles on the end that Hornet sticks her needle through to get around. And I'm gonna use these tire swings to represent that. Mainly because I don't have anything else. Man, there sure are a lot of rooms. And now we move on to the Citadel. The Citadel is at the very top of the map and apparently pretty hard to get into. You have to ring 5 bells across a ton of locations to even get in. It's a super bright, glowy place, so I want to use a pretty golden beige to represent that. I'm also using chisel stone bricks for a fancy floor. Never mind that it's kind of setting off my trypophobia. Wait, what was that? What the heck? How did this gate get here? I can't get into the Citadel. Oh no! It's the last judge! And in order to get to the Citadel, I have to defeat him. Hi-ya! Wow, I'm surprised at my own strength. And hey, look at that, the gate opened. Now I can finally decorate the Citadel, which I'll go ahead and do by starting with the bed. Now for the headboard, I want to do a couple bone blocks, and then the same thing for the bed frame. I want it to be all super light and airy, but I also feel like he's defeated a lot of people, so he probably has a big collection of bones, which is how he made his bone headboard. And his bone side tables, and his bone wool. Now let's go ahead and get some light in here. And now to include some of the people that he's defeated. He defeated this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and his horse at the same time. There's also some really cool parkour jumps that I want to include. I'll put one here, another one right here, and then one more right over here. And now right above his bed, I'm gonna give him a little gift. R.I.P. the last judge. He was no match for Maddie. You know, all of a sudden, I don't really want to sleep in the Citadel room, considering all the bones in there. I'd much rather sleep in the Hornet Bedroom. Hornet is one of the coolest protagonists ever. Her lineage is kind of interesting. Her own father is the Pale King, who is the ruler of Hollow Nest. And her birth story is a little tragic because she was born to basically be a vessel to hold some void infection for the rest of her life. What a way to spend your life, am I right? Thankfully, she busted out of there and now gives us the opportunity to play the game. I'm gonna go ahead and put her bed right in the middle of her room and give her a red headboard with the red bed frame to match her outfit. And to capture her mask, a white bed sheet. Obviously, we can't forget the carpet. Now, right above her bed, I want to put a picture of her because that really pulls this whole room together. I'll go ahead and make her side tables black and put some sewing machines on them. I like to think this is where she gets all of her needles. There's a picture of her standing in a bunch of white roses, so I really want to incorporate roses into her room too. And now let's fill it in a little bit. Hornet is always going to scary places defeating scary bosses, so it's almost like I want to create a really nice safe space for her to relax and take a load off from all that battling. Let's hang a couple lanterns. And of course, for the overgrown look, some vines. Okay, this is by far the most serene place in the entire house. And if anyone deserves it, it's Hornet. This build definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone, but I think being out of your comfort zone is a good thing. I had so much fun with this house and would love to do more builds just like it. Let me know what your favorite room was. And if you liked the video, make sure to subscribe.